Hey everyone, it's Josh here. I just wanted to intro this recording quickly for you. It all started because I'm actually pre-selling a new product that we're coming out with, and I was struggling a little bit, to be honest, with getting the last little bit of pre-sales to move it past our goal to actually start development. So I started reaching out to a few of the really successful people in the current foundation with pre-sales, just to kind of see what they're doing and kind of get a little motivation from them and learn kind of from them to see if there's anything I can do better in what I'm doing for the new product that myself and Carl are releasing. So I actually had a conversation with Chris, who's pre-sold $24,000 worth of his product, or worth of his idea in 3 months with no products. So I wanted to share that, kind of behind the scenes recording of him and I learned a ton from the call. So hope you guys can learn just as much. So here it is.
And all that stuff.
Yeah, I'm good. Very good.
Yeah.
Cool. So so you chose associations. Why did you choose associations, you said?
Well, so I've been doing consulting for that market for about 10 years, and when I first started out in the foundation, I did not want to work with associations anymore because I was kind of sick of it, and I wanted to just kind of start from scratch, get a new market. But it was easier for me to reach out and get idea extraction calls just from the people that I knew and that I've been working with, and because I sort of had a name in that market already, and some credibility. So that's how I came up with that market. And so technically they're nonprofits, but it's a little misleading because they might not be profit driven, but they're very revenue driven. So they do have money, and some of them have lots of money, and they're spending it on quite a bit of it on software every year. So the markets are the associations that I'm targeting have to have at least $5 million in revenue.
Okay.
And they have to work with an association management software system that uses Microsoft SQL Server. So it's very specific, but it's a big enough market and a big enough pain where there's money to be made. Just trying to think if there's anything else.
So what are these associations, like what is an example of one of them? Like what association for what?
Yes, that's a good question. So there's a couple different types, and the main ones are professional associations. So that would be, the National Association of Realtors or the Association of Nurses,
Okay.
where there's a group of professionals who join together. Okay, and then another example would be a trade association where there's an association who represents an industry. So a life insurance association or advertising. And another type would be an alumni association where, you go to college and you graduate, and then an example would be maybe a fraternity or a sorority. They will keep their members in an association after they graduate.
Interesting. That's really cool. It's a very unique market. That's in terms of the foundation. That's pretty awesome.
Yeah, and they are technically classified as nonprofit, and they don't really use or pay for SaaS products, but they do spend a lot of money on software. So I figured it was worth a shot, and it turned out to be correct.
That's really awesome. And what you were doing, so you were consulting, that's that your job was before, you were consulting for these associations?
Yeah, I was doing IT work, basically an IT contractor, helping them implement software or program custom solutions for some of the things that they were doing.
That's really cool. Really cool, man. And what's the solution you're building?
Well, the pain point is that in my market, like I said, they have to use an association management software system, which is it's basically like a CRM,
Yeah.
but specifically for associations. And behind that CRM or the AMS system is a database, and in that database they have all the information about their members. Everything's in there. And one of the things that almost everyone I talked to struggled with was poor data quality and integrity. So they had issues of duplicate records in their database
Mm.
or inconsistent data, um, just things like that. Not being able to find certain data quickly. So the problem was data quality, and then the solution is just a tool to help them quickly identify bad data and monitor it and correct it. Um, and to kind of centralize, and on top of that, kind of to make the data quality effort a team effort. So that was one of the things that people were struggling with, was to get all the different people in the different departments who need to be involved with making sure that the data is clean and accurate, giving them one tool that they can all work out of to do that.
That's really awesome. That's really awesome. And then what what point are you at now? Like you've gotten 20 something grand in pre-sales?
Yeah, so I set out to get 5 founding members. So
Yeah.
my goal was to partner with just 5 associations, and because I didn't just want to get a pre-sale customer, I wanted to get someone that I could partner with, or really partner with and build a relationship with. So I wanted to go with fewer number of pre-sales, but for large amounts. So I in my pre-sale package, I offered 2 options, one for 1 year up front and one for 2 years up front.
Okay.
And so I got 5 founding members, and the total was, hold on. $24,731.25.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That is really cool, man. That's so cool.
Yeah, I can barely believe it.
When did that last? How long did that take you? Like, when did you get all this in?
Well, I had a pretty big pre-sale in January. I had 6,500 in January. I got that by reaching out to somebody that I had been doing consulting work for a long time.
Mm-hmm.
And then the rest of it, I think I started the first week of March, and then the final pre-sale, the 5th member, came in last week. So what is today? Monday. So last Wednesday when they signed up. So it took about almost 2 months, I guess.
That's so cool. So I have a bunch of questions. I'd love to. So the 1 year and 2 years, what were you giving off? Like what deal were you giving? Anything?
Yeah, so I did. So so are you okay over there? It sounds like you're pitching a tent, or
Oh, is the sound quality not good?
there's like a brushing sound. Yeah, I don't know if it's
Still, is it right now?
not right now. That's good.
Maybe it's hitting my shirt. One sec. I'll make sure the mic's off my shirt.
Okay.
Or I'll hold it out. Is this good?
Yeah, that's good.
Okay. Yeah, it's probably hit my shirt. We're good.
Okay, yeah, so I did 1 year and 2 year, and if they did 1 year up front, they could get 10% off for life, and then the 2 year plan was 20% off.
Okay.
So, and then the other things that I offered were, so I'm pricing per database that they work with, not per user, because the purpose of the software is to get everyone at that association involved who needs to be. So I just felt that it would go against that to price by user.
Mm-hmm.
So I decided to price by database, and for the founding members, I just said, you know what, it can be unlimited. So for that price, you can use this tool to do data quality for as many databases as you want. And then I offered the other typical things like access to me, 100% money back guarantee, things like that.
Yeah.
But another thing I did is that before each call, I spent a lot of time thinking about the person that I was going to talk to,
Mm-hmm.
and just kind of reviewing the idea extraction call, thinking about their association, about what they specifically were struggling with. And I always tried to throw in a little something for that specific person. So I think that really helped a lot. And an example would be one guy told me that they were really struggling with email bounce backs for some of their marketing campaigns, and so I told him that I would work with him while the solution was being built to just set up some simple reports so they could start tracking those bounce backs right away. And I think that helped close that deal.
Okay. So you kind of try to address like an immediate pain as soon as possible.
Yeah, or just think about the person and what they might want or need.
That's really awesome. That's cool, man. And were you doing? Sorry, I'm getting some feedback here. Were you doing emails to like cold lists at all, or is it all within your network?
Let's see. So I did. Well, none of the pre-sale demos were cold because I had done idea extraction with all the people that I talked to.
Okay.
But some of the idea extraction outreach was they were cold emails.
Originally.
And yeah, originally people that I didn't know directly, but they knew who. They didn't know who I was, but I was an authorized consultant in the area, so I had a little bit of credibility.
Nice.
Yeah.
Cool. What's your step now? Like, are you looking to get more pre-sales? Are you done? Are you just gonna start developing, or what are you doing now?
Yeah, I'm going to start developing. So I could pursue. There's two other people that, if I wanted to, I could pursue and try to get a pre-sale, but. For me, while I was in the heat of the pre-sale process, it's all I wanted to do and all I could focus on. And now I just feel like I need to shift my focus completely to get the product built.
Mm-hmm.
Mainly because these 5 people have, taken a chance and put out some pretty big money. So I feel like I owe it to them to get it done.
For sure.
So.
What was your pre-sale process like during like this? I'm actually really curious to know what part of my report helped you, so I know what was good in there. But like, what was your pre-sale process like during the call? Like, what did you do?
Yeah, well, even before that, so it might sound weird, but for myself and I think a lot of people in the foundation, we sort of know the process, like the 6 steps, but there's just really simple questions like who do I email for the pre-sale demo? How do I transition from idea extraction, which is really a lot different than pre-selling?
Yeah.
What is the email supposed to say? How do I schedule it? What am I supposed to show? All those really simple things that just needed to be said, and your report said them. So I was like, okay, I got it. I know what to do.
Just like those little things like, okay, I'm doing the right things. Yeah, cool.
Yeah, it's like, okay, I need to email the people I did idea extraction with and tell them, hey, I think I have a solution. So the other thing that really helped me get over like a mental or like a mindset block was that I think you said that, the goal of the pre-sale demo is feedback.
Mm-hmm.
And with the goal of feedback leading into the soft sale. Mm-hmm. And once I read that, I was like, oh, okay. It's not about, and I think you also said it can take up to 3 calls to close a deal.
Mm-hmm.
And once all those kind of was in my mind, I was like, all right, I don't have to get on the phone and ask for money right away.
Mm-hmm.
And that helped a lot. So what I did is I just emailed everyone I had done ID extraction with, and I said, hey, I think I've come up with a solution to that problem that we talked about. I've sketched out a very simple prototype solution. Would you mind taking a look? I'd really like to get your feedback. And
Cool.
yeah, I got 100%. So I sent out 11 emails like that and did 11 demos.
Nice.
And
Nice.
so I think it's just the way it's worded. Like there was no hint of any founding member program or pricing or even presentation. So then we got on the phone. I tried to build rapport,
Mm-hmm.
and that was okay. So it was something I'm not that good at, but I tried it and it worked. Like I just felt so ridiculous, like even asking about the weather because it's so seems like what everybody does. But it works, man. Like people just opened up and talked about the weather, and
Yeah.
it was.
Yeah.
So then I did like a join.me screen share thing.
Yeah. Did you use an info
And-
pack or you just use a demo?
Oh, I used an info pack for sure, and
So you went over, what'd you show them in the info pack?
I went through. So I really liked Carl's info pack, like everyone does, and then also the Beyond Compliance info pack. I forget his name, but I kind of took.
Oh, David Smith?
Yeah, David Smith. So his Beyond Compliance info pack really felt right to me.
Mm-hmm.
And so, it's a typical thing like the benefit, like a copywriting subheadline and headline with the benefits on the title slide.
Mm-hmm.
And then my second slide was a little bit different.
So you went through like the benefits, you went to the problem, the benefits kind of like in the first slide. Is that what you did?
Well, just where there are the bullet points on the first slide,
Oh,
where it
okay.
says, just like 4 bullet points of what you would gain through the product. And I took one of Carl's tips and I put on there. Among associations, the thing they're all struggling with is they want to do this thing called they want to get their members engaged, meaning that the members of their association, they want them to go to events, to volunteer and things like that because they tend to be happier and they stay members longer.
Mm-hmm.
So I just threw on there as a benefit, drive member engagement, which,
Okay.
Might be true, maybe not. Anyway.
Hot button.
Yeah, exactly. And I think maybe one thing I did different with my info pack is on the second page, one of the questions I had asked was when I did ID extraction, I was like, what was one of the negative consequences that you suffered from bad data quality? And I got such great answers, like just examples of people sending invitations to board members to join the association, when clearly they're already a member, or one woman calling the association in tears because they kept sending her deceased husband mailings.
Oh, no.
Yeah, so just really like emotional things in that regard, but also like our executive director hit the roof when he found out about the number of email bounce backs. Anyway, the slide has a lot of text on it, and they're all little quotation boxes with like certain things bolded on it.
Mm-hmm.
And so when I got to that slide, what I would do is say, "Oh, hey, can you hold on a minute? I have to like adjust something. I'll be right back." And I would just let that person sit with that slide for like a minute.
Good.
And when I came back, I would say, "Okay, I'm back. Did you recognize any of these that, do any of these sound familiar to you?" And they almost always said, "Oh yeah, that one right there. Like last week, our executive director did that." And it was just a really good example for me of good copywriting, how you just put what, people's conversations in their own head in front of them.
Mm-hmm.
they respond to it. So that was a good way to start every demo because right away they're like, yeah, that's me, or yeah, that's a problem that we had yesterday or last Friday.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and then from there, it just kind of went into what, why aren't you doing more about data quality? I would list what people said, they don't have enough time, they feel overwhelmed when they do. And again, it's just one of those slides that gets the person going, yep, yep, yes, yes, yeah, that's right. And then I did I showed what the current process was for most associations. And I made that slide look as ugly as I could, like with just put and I think that's where the Beyond Compliance info pack helped me a lot, is that he has this really beautiful slide showing of how most financial planners, I think, handle their compliance. And he has all these pictures of all these different systems that they use to try to do it. And it was really easy to put together and really effective because it just showed how scattered everything was. Is this useful for me to talk through?
Yeah, yeah. I'm really,
okay.
yeah, keep talking through it. I'm thinking this would be really useful to share with people, so it's good. Keep going.
Yeah. Okay. So then that slide, I had a little effect on that slide so it's this big like red, and anyway, when it's done, I would go through and this little thing would fade in and say the biggest problem is like this doesn't even really get the job done. So some people were using about 10 different software systems to try to track down and correct data quality issues, and it wasn't even complete. So then the next slide was my solution, or just showing the kind of the breath of fresh air, where there's this simple solution where the process is very clear and centralized, and then I had a benefits slide. Although for some reason that slide was really awkward to go through. I don't know if that was just me or if I just felt that, but it was the kind of slide, where there's a little icon over to the right or to the left, and then next to that it would say a benefit of the software, like, quickly identify bad data or things like that. So I don't know why, but I always kind of got through that slide as quickly as I could to try to get to the prototypes. And I had maybe five prototype screens, and I did them in Balsamic, which I don't know if you know, but that really looks like a sketch. It doesn't look like anything. Yeah. And I did that on purpose because I didn't want people to think that the product was done or even close to being done. And my experience in the past is when you show a user a fancy UI, they expect it to be that it's further along than it is. So I just kept it simple, and then just started going through each screen and then always asking, does this seem useful? Does there seem to be anything missing?
Cool.
And the beautiful part is that in my second pre-sale call, on the second slide, one of the prototypes, somebody suggested a feature that I hadn't thought of. And when I added that, everybody after that just went nuts over that feature. And I think it just kind of goes to show how important it is to, even if you don't think it's done, get your info pack in front of people, because it's so much easier for users to give you their ideas and their feedback and how useful it is when they actually see something. And I think that was in your report as well. Like you could, going back to that, you could go through the pre-sale demo 3 times. The first time getting feedback and then adjusting slides and then going back again and things like that. So that became really clear to me that is how the process works, and it's pretty awesome, because once you get it just right, when you're on the 4th slide, sometimes they'll say, how much is it? When can I get it?
Yeah. Cool. Yeah, and I'm glad that was clear in there, because I think that personally, like the art of pre-selling is actually like to having a must-have product in front of someone. So when you understand someone's pain well enough that you're showing them something that solves it so perfectly, then they're like, the pre-sale becomes a lot easier at that point. So,
Yeah, definitely.
so the art of, when you get feedback on stuff and kind of make it, more and more that must-have product, that's the whole goal of your demo calls. So that's pretty cool. Did you find that like that? I think that's something I kind of mentioned. Is that true in your experience too?
That when it's what's that? That when it's
Like, yeah, is that the art? Like, is that the secret behind pre-selling? Like, is it to get it to a point where it's a must-have product?
yes, because when it's a must-have product, it's not a sales
Yeah,
process. It's a negotiation, and I never really felt that I was selling anything.
yeah.
And uh, so I had one guy, 20 minutes, the first 20 minutes, he explained to me why he didn't want to buy this, or why he wouldn't eat it, or I figured out he had a lot of limiting beliefs on his own, but he was saying he didn't understand why I chose this market because it wasn't big enough, and he didn't see how it could be profitable. And this was after I had 19,000 in pre-sales already. And so I was being very polite. And then he was one of the ones on the third slide. He was like, "How much is it?" And he wanted to schedule a follow-up with his developer. It turned out to not be a pre-sale with him.
Okay.
Um, but I feel that he wanted it. Yeah, so I guess it's not, kind of lost my train of thought, but another one. So I guess after my prototype slides, I just had a very simple slide with text on it that says, "What do you think?" And I would get to that slide, say, "What do you think?" And then I would just shut up. Like I wouldn't say anything. And when I got to that slide, I thought I could kind of gauge whether the person was hot or cold
Mm-hmm.
on whether they wanted it. And sometimes they would say, "How much is it? When can I get it?" Or they would start to ask about how much is it, where in the process am I with it, and then I could lead into the founding members info and then into the pricing.
Yeah.
And I'll say that the pricing was on the very last slide of the info pack and at the very bottom. So I guess I had several steps to get them to that point. So I knew if I got them to that point that it was probably a yes, like a pretty good chance that it was a sale. So I think that's why it never really felt like a sale, like I was selling anything.
So what was that? What did that step by step look like when you brought into that last slide? Like, what happened after you said, "What do you think?" Well, what slides do you have there?
Yeah, well, so immediately after what do you think, I had the founding member slide, which just said, "Hey, I'm looking to partner with 5 associations to privately implement the product."
Okay.
And then I would have bullet points of benefits of being a founding member
Mm-hmm.
that but there were no prices listed there, but price started to be mentioned. Like you get 100% money back guarantee,
Yeah.
you get a discounted price for life, you get access to me, and those things. And then I would always tell the story of like, hey, I'm doing this. I want to partner with 5 associations because I want to make sure that I get it right. And I'm also, one of the things that I'm asking the founding members to do is to pay up front. And then I would explain it's because I want to fund the development, but also I want to validate that it's a real problem that people are people are willing to pay for.
Mm-hmm.
And I felt weird saying that the first time, but the reaction I got to that sentence like was so supportive that I said
Mm-hmm.
it every time.
Nice.
And people just seem to be excited about that. That I don't know why, but that statement worked. Then if they, well, one more thing, if they didn't, when I said, "What do you think?" if they didn't immediately start to talk about price or ask about the status of the software, I would try to ask a leading question that did not have money involved. So I would say, do you think this would be useful for your organization? Or do you think this would save you time? You know, kind of things related to price anchoring, but without talking about price. And and I had one call where there was a really long, awkward, what I felt was awkward pause at the what do you think? And I had set a rule for myself to not say anything. You know, it's like I want this person to talk first. I don't want to say anything. And we just kind of sat there for a long time. I could hear them thinking and what to say. So then they started to like yammer a little bit about things. So then I finally just asked, do you think this would be useful? And they said yes, and that turned into a pre-sale. And at that moment, I just thought this is not going to work. But
that's incredible. That's really, really cool, man.
Yeah.
I like that a lot. And so once you went through like the pre-sales, what was their reaction when you mentioned pricing?
Okay, yeah. So when I got to the pricing page, my expectation was that everyone was going to write me a check at the end of the call, and that did not turn out to be the case at all. So when they saw the pricing, they said,
sorry, I want to interrupt just quickly. Were these decision makers? It sounded like you said like there was an executive. It didn't sound like they were on the call.
Yeah, so part of the time it was a decision maker and part of the time it wasn't.
Oh, okay.
And if I talked to a decision maker, they said, we have to do another call with the technical person below me.
Yeah.
And if I was talking to the technical person, they said, okay, we have to do another call with the decision maker. So I figured that either way was fine. It's just that a second call would be necessary.
Oh, okay, cool.
And I think in 2 cases, I did not have to meet with the decision maker. I kind of left it in the hands of the person that I talked to kind of champion the purchase. And I know that kind of goes against what we're supposed to do, but it worked out. So I left it up to them because they would say, okay, the pricing seems great. I want the product, but I have to, you know, for that amount of money, I have to go to my boss and we have to make sure it's in the budget. And so if that happened, I just did polite email follow-ups until I got a yes or a no.
Nice. Interesting. Yeah,
I'm sorry, go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to say, it's interesting that it worked that way because when I, am talking to a non-decision maker and then it has to go to the boss, like my first inclination is always to set up a meeting with the boss and that person, which that's awesome that it doesn't actually have to happen that way because it obviously worked for you. Just kind of letting them do it and you emailing them. Interesting.
Yeah, well, it depends. I would say it depends a lot on the market and how those people in the market do business. So in associations, there's often a very technical person whose boss might be the head of HR. So they have these weird organizational structures sometimes where the head of HR is not going to have the ability to make really a purchase decision about a technology. Like what I was offering, because my technology is mainly for database administrators and managers. And so in that case, the HR manager depends or relies on their staff to educate them about what's needed and that sort of thing. So in those cases, I had a little bit of trust that that technical person kind of felt them out, that they would be able to get the sale done.
So, and then you go back to the question sorry I interrupted you with, when you mentioned pricing, is that what kind of happened? Like they either said, oh, I got to talk to someone, or did it rarely happen on the spot with the first call that the deal closed?
Yeah, or I would get, another thing I got was, okay, I want to sign up, but I have to, excuse me, look at my budget and think about whether I want to do 1 year or 2 years.
Okay.
And so there was always something that they had to think about or check with.
Mm-hmm.
And it always seemed fair, and I didn't schedule the follow-ups immediately, but I did start following up about 4 days later by email, and then being persistent. And then if I wasn't getting an answer, my emails would get really short, and finally I would just say, hey, do you have any interest in this at all?
Mm-hmm.
And
did you do any price anchoring at all? Like, it sounds like you didn't do a ton of price anchoring.
it's difficult to do price anchoring with associations because they rarely do, they don't think in those terms too much. So I did do a little bit of price anchoring, but the main area that it will save is the saving staff time.
Mm-hmm.
And consultant time. Hey Josh, can you hold on a second? I got to drink of water.
Yeah, no worries.
I guess you could say I did more of pain anchoring. Like I tried to figure out who was being harmed by the poor quality data or where it was causing problems,
Mm-hmm.
and went about it that way. So I did have a couple numbers. So one guy said that he spent 100 hours on dealing with poor data quality over a period of 3 months or something. But it was also difficult because the effect of the bad data is sometimes hard to quantify. So a lot of people said that the biggest problem with having poor quality data was that they didn't know if their marketing efforts were like going to the right people. And so, I mean, while it's possible to quantify that stuff, it's not going to be possible for me to do that on the phone. And so, yeah, I didn't do a whole lot of price anchoring, actually.
Well, that makes sense. That's actually really makes sense. So pain anchoring, because, yeah, it sounds like it was. I mean, you just hit a really painful problem, which is the goal of it all. So that's really cool.
Right.
Yeah. Wow. I'm impressed, man. That's really, really awesome what you did there. I some really cool things I kind of took out of that, especially around the I liked what you did with the what do you think slide and just waited, and then also the when you kind of got up and said you gotta do, you let them sit with that one slide with the quotes. That's actually cool.
Yeah.
The cool principle to let them sit with that. That's neat. Yeah, I think this is. I mean, I'm not sure if you've shared this with many people, but this is really valuable, man. This is really cool what you've done. One other thing I'm really curious. Like, I think this is the biggest thing, at least where I'm struggling right now. I'd love to hear what you did with it. What was your story in the beginning? Like, what was your connection? Like, did you kind of tell them the background of yourself and like why you're doing this and the story in the beginning? Is that how you connected with them at all?
Oh, that's a good question. Yeah, so I guess without knowing it, I did have a story that I told them all because I started out every call the same way.
Yeah.
And that was that what had happened is that every year there's a big conference in October where associations get together and they deal with these association management systems.
Mm-hmm.
And almost everybody knows about that conference, and a lot of the people I were talking to, had either been to that conference or in the previous year or had been there before. So what I said was that, last October I went to the Discovery Conference, And after that conference, I started reaching out to people, asking what problems they were struggling with or having with their association management system, just to see if there was a solution I might be able to provide.
Hmm.
And then I said, almost everyone brought up poor data quality. And, here's what they said. And I think I've come up with a solution. So, yeah, that was it.
That's just a really short and sweet.
Yeah, and it gives me some credibility because I was at Discovery and they may have been at Discovery.
Yeah.
And if I knew that the person had been there, I asked if they had been at a particular session, that we may have been there together or not even have known it, because I didn't, I ended up calling people that I didn't know or meet at the conference. And it did help that I told them that I talked to other associations, because a couple of times people said, well, what are other associations doing about this or about that? So they definitely cared about what their peers were doing, because they're not really competitors, but what they're.
I think the biggest, I'll just tell you, I'll give you a little compliment here. I think the biggest thing that I just kind of recognize or just hear, kind of listen to you, like, I think you're going to do so awesome at sales. And just, when you were consulting, were you doing sales at all, or was it all IT stuff?
It was all IT stuff.
Really? Okay. So you're really new to sales.
Yeah. The last thing I ever sold was in college. I sold Cutco knives for a little bit.
Nice. The biggest thing I think that you got going for you is, like, honestly, I just sit here and, like, you're just soothing. Like, you're so trustworthy. It's just like, you're just, like, honest, real, and, like, just something about how you talk. It's just like, man, this guy's just going to make things better for me.
Really? Wow.
Yeah, I'm serious. Like, it's just kind of like, because you're not, like, because you're not, it seems like you're, you might be, or not, it seems like you're not, like, an insanely extroverted guy. So it seems like you're not, like, all over, you're not, like, excitable, all this different, like in a really high sense. You're just very, like, trustworthy. Just like, you're just, I don't know if this is normally how you are, if it's just laid out there, but you're just very, it's like soothing. That's all I can say.
Oh, wow. Thank you. No, people have told me that before, and now I guess I believe it.
Yeah.
So thank you.
Yeah. No, it's really good. And I think that's the biggest thing. People, when you say sales, people think, like, oh, you got to be this really outgoing person and, like, have all these sales techniques and all this stuff. But honestly, the number one thing you've kind of proven it is just, be honest, be real, and just be there to help, right?
Right. And
I think that's kind of it sounds like that's been your approach, and that really just kind of, like, comes even in this call. Like, even the one thing you said about, when one person was like, this isn't going to work, it's not a market, and you're sitting there with 19 grand in pre-sales, and you're just like, you sound like you just let them talk and let them, didn't really say, well, what, like, I got, you didn't kind of get up in arms about that, right? And that's it's your personality. You're just, you're very humble too. That's kind of comes through. So you're going to do really, really good at this. I can tell. It's really cool.
Yeah, well, thank you. Yeah, that means a lot. I don't know what to say, but yeah.
No worries, man. I have a feeling we're going to share this, so I want to ask you one last question, just on the recording. What's kind of looking back at this whole process? What's the biggest thing you've learned that you think you could share with people if they're listening?
Yeah, I really think to not be afraid to throw an info pack together and get it in front of somebody as soon as possible. Mm-hmm. So, because it's just, you can only do so much on your own, and really, because the goal, once you have your info pack together, or that that your solution is actually solving the problem, and a painful problem, then it's like a pressure-free pre-sale call. It's not selling at all. It's just, like I said, it doesn't feel like a sales call. So, and the only way to really achieve that, I think, is to get the info pack done or some version of it, whether you even have pricing ready or not, and show it to somebody and then iterate and revise. And then once you get it right, you'll know it because you'll get that, when can I get it? You know, how much is it and when can I have it? And that's where that, and pre-selling is fun, like,
Yeah.
and addictive. So that's all I wanted to do. And once I got into it, because compared to idea extraction, it's just so much more fun. And also there's a you know, a possible monetary reward at the end. And when you get it, it's like a drug, man. This is one of the, it's so good.
That's awesome. That's awesome. And just to be clear, I think you have your prototype or your demo is kind of like within your info pack, right? It sounds like.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
You kind of, yeah. So you don't have that separate. You had your balsamic mock-up slides or like mock-up screens within the slides there.
Yeah, when I did the screen share, I just did a PowerPoint presentation and clicked through the slides, and it include screenshots from Balsamic in the slides.
Cool. Sweet, man. I'm gonna hit the recording off here so we can chat too. But that was really awesome. Cool. Here we go. One sec. Okay, I'm recording again. One more. I can merge this. One more thing. Yeah, go for it. You're recording now.
Okay. Just one of the objections that I got. So, you know, part of doing this is dealing with objections. A couple of people said that they wanted the product, but they didn't have the money and the budget for that year. And so at first, and it's weird, but I was not expecting that objection to come up at all, because these were associations with at least 5 million in revenue. So I figured they could find $3,000 or, you know, somewhere, and I just didn't expect that to come up. So I had to get a little creative with one of them, which is, you know, start talking to them like, what's your budget cycle? When could you have the money available? Could you pay anything today and agree to pay the rest of it later? Or even doing something like a purchase order, where, you know, a purchase order is like an agreement to pay for something in the future, and then doing like a purchase order for 60 days out so that when they hit their next budget cycle, they can pay for it. So it was just one objection that feels like it should be final, but once I started like brainstorming about it, there were just infinite number of ways around it, and then it got the other person excited and felt like we were working together, and I was able to close one pre-sale even though there was that objection. So I think there's just always an option. So I was prepared. I could have gone down to, okay, can you pay for 1 month up front, and still gotten technically a pre-sale or some money. So I had room to go in a lot of different directions, and luckily we were able to work it out.
Sweet. That's really good. Really good. Yeah, I see where I could have used that with one of my pre-sales. That's good feedback. Was there any other objections you had to overcome a lot, or that was like the main one?
I think that one was the main one that was legit. Like that it could actually be like a showstopper, like they just don't have the money. Trying to think if there were. Let's see. Well, I ended up with some no's, right? Some calls that didn't work out.
Yeah.
And was trying to think about why they were. So one of them was it wasn't a good fit. So that's probably worth saying that for your founding members, you probably don't want to say yes to everybody, even though it seems really weird to say that.
Yeah.
By the end of that second call, I was thinking, I really don't want to be involved with these guys for 3 or 4 months and have them have influence over the product, because they wanted it, but they were asking for a lot of things that I didn't really want to include. And so I guess maybe just a mindset trick is that some people you don't want them to say yes. But another one was What's that?
Oh, I was going to say, and that's really good actually, because it makes, I think, you be able to be sincere when you kind of say, you're looking for, if you do it all, say you're looking for, the right fit for your founding member program, like you honestly are. You're looking for the right fit. You're
Yeah,
not going to accept everyone. Yeah.
yeah, that's right. I guess when I wrote that line in the info pack, I didn't really believe it. It was like, I'll
Yeah.
take anybody.
Yeah.
Uh, but then when you think, oh man, yeah. So there's that, and then one call, I got to all the way to the pricing page, so it was going really well. And when I told the guy the price, so I was like, okay, it's this much for 1 year, this much for two. He was really quiet, and he just goes, man, I don't know. And then he just got like real honest with me about how he had just taken over. He had just taken over that position about a year ago, and he felt really overwhelmed.
Mm-hmm.
And he thought they could use it, and he could see how it would be useful, and he thought the price was right, but he was just so overwhelmed with other things that I guess he had so many other priorities and things happening that he just didn't know if it was a good idea to do this now. So at that point, I just stepped back and just kind of talked to him as a person, like let him talk about why he felt overwhelmed.
Mm-hmm.
And even though it didn't turn into a pre-sale, like I'm still talking to that guy today and helping him how I can. I'm pretty sure that something will happen in the future. But I could just feel in that moment that there's no reason to push. Like I shouldn't overwhelm this guy anymore. And he doesn't need, actually he probably wouldn't have been able to use the product right away. Even though I do think it would be useful for him eventually, but. So that was an objection, and I accepted it.
That's sweet, man. No, yeah, that's a lot of, you got a lot of value there to share. Thanks for sharing all that, man. That's really, really cool. I'm looking forward to seeing what you keep doing with this thing. So now, and then just to close off, so now you're kind of stopped. You're not going to be doing many pre-sales moving forward. You're just going to kind of focus on development and getting this thing built out with your founding members.
Yeah, that's what I'm doing now.
Cool, man. Sweet. We'll close off the recording here. Anything else you want to say on the recording, or is that good?
That's it.
Cool.